Good morning, everyone. We are live in Miami or close enough to it for our second running of the Big Gay 5K from Miami. I'm Josh Gay. I am in the other side of Florida, Pensacola, and I am joined by the star of her own Tupperware party, Dixie Longate. Good morning, Dixie.
Good morning, darling. How's everything?
It is as good as it can be being stuck inside a house for
God
what
bless
seems
it.
to be about 6 years.
I know it's been so long, and then now they say, "Oh, your kids are back to school," and you know what that means? It means your kids aren't back to school. So I got to take care of all mine, and then they're like, "You got to learn them how to do things." Then they come up to you, they're like, "Mama, how do I do fractions?" And then you got to get out like a bunch of wine glasses, and then pour like a little bit, and then a lot more bit, and then all the way up, and be like, "This is a mile about. This is half of a fraction, and this is what I'm going to drink to make sure that I don't have to deal with you tonight." That's what that is. So it's called learning math because I didn't know I was going to have to become my own school teacher as well as everything else going on in the world. It's crazy.
Well, everyone, Dixie Longate, we're going to be learning math, fractions, educational programming here on Saturday morning. But we are talking about Miami this morning, a place that is near and dear to my heart. I love Miami. Let's take a look at the weather today. It is a perfect day for a 5K in Miami. It's muggy, it's wet, it is a tropical depression, or maybe a storm at this point. I think it's a tropical depression moving across the south, and so I think it's maybe we're going to be doing an indoor race for a lot of these folks, or they may be doing it on another day. But that is the beauty of the virtual 5K. I am used to being in front of hundreds of people saying, runners take your marks, runners get set, runners go. But this doesn't work like that. This is all on the internet. You can do this on your pace, your time, no crowds. If you want to socially distance, you can. You pick your course, you pick where you're running, and you send us the pictures on our Facebook. And you prove that you ran this awesome race with a fantastic shirt, fantastic medal. We do know that there's a little issue with still buying the bundle. We are working on that. We will let everybody know when we find a solution to that. But that is a tech issue. I'm told that they are going to bring the bundle back. But
And the
this
bundle
is
is
your
great because
race.
you can run in the four different cities, and then you get the four different T-shirts, and then tell them about the medal, which is the coolest thing.
Yes, so the medal is awesome. We go San Francisco, Miami, New York, and New Orleans, and each medal's got some local flair, but when you put these together, they form a giant rainbow. So you can have all four medals put together, displayed in your trophy case, on your wall, wherever it may be that you display your race medals, and you have a giant display that all kind of works together for all four races.
Isn't that amazing? So this is the second race. So last week was San Francisco. This weekend, I'm here with y'all, being represented Miami. And then next week is going to be New York City on Saturday. And then the weekend after that on Saturday is going to be New Orleans. I love New Orleans. Although I had
New
deal the bone
Orleans
to
is
pick New Orleans on account of the fact that New Orleans, everybody thinks that that's where Mardi Gras came from. It's not. Mobile is where Mardi Gras came from. And I, for one, I'm from Mobile. So like I know the origins of where it all came from. And then but that's why Jesus keeps flooding them because he don't like people that stole things. He's like, you stole their holiday. And it says right there in the Bible in First Colossians chapter 17, they're like, don't steal crap or whatever. I didn't get that
that's
far in
exactly what it
the
says.
Bible. I was reading it, and then I did that part where, when Jesus turns water into wine, and then I participated, and then I blacked out, so I had to like start over again. And then I just keep getting to that part, and I keep kind of stalling out because it's such a fun part of the Bible. So, but I know after that, it's the thing that he's like, "Thou shalt not take other people's holidays." .com or whatever. So it's very important. So just so you know, New Orleans is a great place, but New Orleans is not where the whole big party started. So Mardi Gras is signature thing in Alabama, and we still do it here. We still do it in Alabama. But today's not about Alabama. Today's not about New Orleans. Today is about Miami. And even though it's a little bit overcast, it doesn't mean that you can't get out there and run. Because the nice thing about running when it's wet is then you already have a shower taken for you by the time you're done. So you're like, oh, I'm already refreshed.
That's it. When I think of a 5K in the rain, I think refreshing.
I mean,
Actually, I've heard, excuse me, I've heard, Dixie, that you are a runner yourself.
I am. Well, first I started running from the law, and then I was like, oh my gosh, because normally when you run and like there's police chasing you, then they tackle you to the ground, and if it's not like the ones you know, then it doesn't like end fun. Like sometimes they're like, I got the handcuffs, and you're like, yeah, yeah. But then sometimes it's not as fun as that, and then like we're going to take you into the prison, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that part. And so, but then I was like, oh, I can run like a race, and then instead of getting pushed down, I will get like a medal and crap, and use sometimes a free banana. And everybody knows how fun getting a free banana is because the shape is something that's so familiar to a lot of people. And so I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. And so then I started doing a couple of races, and now I've done 4 marathons now. I've done a bucket and a half marathons and done a ton of them. And so one of the things I love is doing virtual races like this, because especially right now where there's people aren't getting together for big events. It's not as a lot of the big races are being canceled or postponed right now because of COVID and everything. This way it gives you the opportunity to still run, still challenge yourself, still get together with your friends, and you can socially distance with your friends. Or if you have friends that live in other parts of the country like I do, because the Witness Relocation Program, it gives you the opportunity to be like, hi, Ethel. It's not her name, but Ethel. Okay, why don't you run, away today? And then we can both earn a medal together. And then at the end, then you call each other like this on the social medias, and then you get out a bottle of champagne. You're like, look how good I did, like you're doing now. And you start drinking, and then by the end of it, you're like, but then you get a medal. It's sort of like the best thing ever.
It's amazing. It happens every Saturday in my household. Every Saturday, just like you described. It's amazing.
Nice. That's so good. And this is what I love about this one that's even more fun, is because it's a series, you get to do multiple ones in a row. So when you get your friends together, like I've got a couple of friends that are doing it with me. And so we do the one each weekend. This one I did a little early because I knew I was going to be doing the broadcast with you all today. So I did my 5K the other day, and I did get a little rained on, but I got it in under the wire. So that way I feel good about myself. And a 5K, sometimes people are like, 5K, that sounds hard, because some people have never run before or anything. 5K is easy. It's just, you know what? You don't even got to run it. If you need to walk it, if you need to give yourself an incentive at the end, but I know people that place just like shots every couple of feet and do them. It takes longer to get to the end, but if you don't have anything on a Thursday, it's a perfect way to do it. So it's just about finding ways to incentivize yourself. And some people say, well, you know what? Today I'm going to just go for a little walk, because I haven't been outside for a while and I've been locked up and cooped up, and I might have gained like COVID-15 that everybody's talking about. But this way you're like, all right, well, it gives me an incentive to go out and get a little bit of running done and get myself back on track. Because you know what? At some point, you're going to have to come out your house and you're going to have to face other people face to face. And the last thing you want them to do is be like, girl, what happened to you? I remember when you didn't used to look like this. Let's work on it. And so this gives everybody an opportunity to work together and have some fun, right?
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. And the best thing that I can say to any of our runners out there, if you're watching, if you haven't gone for your run, if you haven't even registered, do me a favor. Go take the first step. All you got to do is go out your front door. Right then and there, you have done more than 90% of the people out there on a Saturday morning. Take the first step, get out there 1 foot in front of the other, and you can get a 5K done before you know it. You'll have fun. I promise you. It may get a little hard, but I'm telling you, it's going to be fun by the end of it and rewarding. Also, if you want more, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's one of these things you build up to. If you've never done one before, the virtual ones like this are the best way to do it, because you don't feel the pressure of like a lot of people running with you, so that you're watching people maybe pass you up, or you're like, oh my God, I can't, I'm not going to. This way you do it at your own pace, and it's a great way to give yourself some incentives. And, there's a bunch of running apps out there that you can sign up for. A lot of them are for free. And then that way you can track your running, track your progress. And it's a great thing to do, because coming into the fall months, when a lot of people, when it gets colder and people are going to end up being inside a lot more, well, honey, this is the time to get yourself a little bit of exercise right now.
Exactly. And if you need any more incentive, this race series benefits a fantastic charity, the Mercury Phoenix Trust. And it is founded by the family members and band members of Freddie Mercury, the former lead singer of Queen. And you can go to mercuryphoenixtrust.com for more information. We just had the birthday of Freddie Mercury, which is Freddie for a Day, where people go around wearing mustaches in honor of Freddie Mercury. And this foundation is fantastic. Not only do they work with the large non-governmental organizations, they work with some of the larger charities out there, but they also support grassroots efforts. So the charities down there in Miami that need the help, they're getting help from the Mercury Phoenix Trust. And by running your race today, you're helping out the Mercury Phoenix Trust, and then thus helping your community, helping the people out in Miami in your community. They raise HIV and AIDS awareness, but they also do things that are a little bit more grassroots. We were talking last week about how there's charities that bring meals to shut-ins. There's all sorts of charities out there that help out, and the Mercury Phoenix Trust acts kind of as an umbrella for those.
Which is so important because a lot of people, I know things have been really tough for a lot of people. Financially, it's been a real strain on people. But what a lot of people kind of forget is there's so many organizations that would usually do their big fundraising efforts would be big parties, big dinners, big galas and stuff like that. And they haven't been able to do them because of everything that's been going on. So there's a ton of organizations that help out that don't have any funding coming in this year. So something like this, you do a little good thing for yourself, but you're also doing something great for an organization that then supports this community. And that's what's so important. And so just taking a small step like this, the benefits ricochet out. So it's a very good thing.
And if you have not signed up, or if you did sign up, you can actually still also donate. Go through our website or go through mercuryphoenixtrust.com, and you can donate to help folks out. I'm going to do us a quick thing here. We're going to check in on social media, see who's commenting. If you are watching us right now, please leave a comment. Tell us where you're running from. Throw up your photo there. I know we had a little bit of issue with the tech there.
Go right to the
last
Big
week.
Game 5K on Facebook, and you're going to see this whole thing. You'll be able to comment. You can be able to talk about it. You'll be able to tell me how pretty I look on a very early morning, which is true because I had to get up super early this morning, and I was push the guy out of bed, and I was like, go now, whatever, and I was like, oh no, I got to do my hair, and so that takes a minute. So this is because normally I would be drinking or whatever, and then the kids would be like, Mom, and then say a sentence after that. And I had to have to respond to whatever they say. Sometimes I do. I listen enough and I'm like, what? But in this case, I was like, I'm up early. Even my kids were like, oh no, Mama, I'm in here making breakfast. The kids were in the, what's that room where you make breakfast that I never go into? So they were in that room doing that. And then I walked in there and they're like, Mama, the place where we put all the liquors in the baby's room, obviously. And so it's like, oh yeah, but I have to get up for something different, and so it's a fun morning to get up and be clear eyed and have some fun with all y'all. So I'm excited about it.
Well, you look fabulous. And I want to give a shout out to Keith Ormsby checking in with us. He is commenting on the fact that you snorted earlier. So I think we're having enough fun where you're snorting from laughter, which is an amazing way to start a Saturday.
I grew up near a pig farm, so I can't help it. And it's just sort of ingrained with me that I sit there and I'm just, every once in a while, just snorts take over me. It's nothing intentional, it just happens. So that's so sweet. Hi there, Mr. Keith. Isn't he just an angel sent straight from baby Jesus above? God bless him.
God bless him indeed. And then Katie Mason, who checked in with us last week from California, she's having to run indoors with the fires there. So we've got fires on one side of the country. We've got a hurricane coming on the other side. It's mass chaos.
I know. Look, I'm sending all my love and hope to everybody on the West Coast because those fires are big and out of control. So I'm hoping everybody keeps as safe as possible and takes good care of themselves. So yeah, you're going to do this on the West Coast. Make sure that you're in a place that the air is filtered because the air's quality is real bad right now on account of the fact that all the fires is blazing.
Well, yeah, again, we're thinking about all of you guys, and please, the number one rule is be safe out there. Dixie, we're going to take a second. I hate to do this. We've got to get you off the screen. Yes, I know. As much as you are a treasure for us this morning, I've got to go to someone who is actually one of the charity partners that we're also working with, George Bevan. So, George, hey, there you are.
Hey, Josh.
How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I took a little weekend vacation to sunny Destin, Florida, so I'm living the life right now.
You're in our neck of the woods. That's fantastic. That's awesome. So, George, let me first of all, I want to introduce you properly. George is the kickball director of Stonewall Sports, which is a charity team, and you have your own podcast. You're actually based out of New Orleans. So tell me a little bit about Stonewall Sports and what they do.
Yeah, so I wear a number of hats in the LGBTQ community in New Orleans, but one of those is director of kickball for Stonewall Sports. So it's a LGBTQ sports league with a philanthropic heart. And we have kickball seasons each spring and fall. Obviously not this past spring. It got interrupted about 2 games into the season. We had to shut things down. But yeah, so that's just one of the many sports that Stonewall Sports New Orleans offers. We also do running clubs. So we're going to have a lot of runners in New Orleans running the big gay 5K when you guys are covering us at the end of the month. We also have volleyball, bowling, you name it, we offer it.
So let me ask you, I mean, obviously with this pandemic going on, how has that affected your operations, but how are you guys staying active throughout this? And sorry, my dog's trying to say hello.
Oh, goodness. So yeah, like a lot of businesses and a lot of people, we moved virtually. We started doing virtual happy hours, virtual trivia. And so we were able to kind of still keep the league together, have that sense of community, even though we couldn't be on the fields or on the courts playing the sports that we love.
So tell me about that, about just getting together, the community aspect of the LGBTQ community. Talk to me about the community aspect and how it's important that you guys are staying connected.
So I'll tell you this, and I've experienced it personally. People say, I come to New Orleans. It's known to be, this big gay city, and it can be intimidating, right? You don't know where to start. But Stonewall Sports is one of those perfect places where you get to know people, and the community, as big as it is, starts to get a little bit smaller and a little bit closer. And so, especially during these tough times where a lot of our players have lost jobs, a lot of them don't know what their financial situation is like. Just to be able to see other people that they know and love on a weekly basis was, I think, very important to some people, especially since gay bars in New Orleans were closed and still are closed as of right now.
Yeah, we've actually just gotten word Miami may not be opening up, but the bars in Florida should be opening up Monday, limited capacity, but we're on the right track if everybody behaves. Everybody's got to do their job and behave here. But again, it is important to get together. And so you guys are doing these happy hours and other virtual events. Talk to me a little bit, though, about you. I mean, you are kind of, I'm going to call you a New Orleans media mogul. I mean, your podcast, you're in the magazine. Talk to me about that.
Right. So I started off with Ambush Magazine. Oh, I'm sorry, that's my boyfriend behind me. Started off with Ambush Magazine as their distribution coordinator, which is essentially, I say, glorified paperboy, being distribution coordinator. So I started off with that, and then, of course, pandemic comes. A large portion of our the places where we distribute were restaurants, bars, coffee shops. All these places are now closed. And so me and my editor sat down and we were talking about, how do we transition from actual physical print paper to something online? So we started doing the online edition, but it wasn't really getting the viewership that we wanted. And so he brought up the idea. He said, well, we've been kicking around the idea of a podcast. Like, why don't we try that out? And of course, I've been listening to podcasts for a decade now. Love them. And I thought, I've listened to enough podcasts where I think I have a good idea of where we can take this. So each month we record it's about a 30-minute podcast, interviewing everybody from bar owners, restaurant owners, comedians. I even had an astrologer on telling me about, astrology and all the zodiac signs.
Well, there you go. I'm a Pisces. What are you?
I am a Cancer, and I'll tell you, whenever I had my interview with him, he said, "Oh, I could totally tell you're a Cancer. You've got that hard shell that's tough to crack, but once you get in there, like you're a softie and you want to open up."
Well, there you go. And we're glad you're opening up to us. Before we go, a couple of things. Do me a favor and tell everybody how to get in touch with Stonewall Sports, how to find your publication and your podcast. And then let's leave it with a few tips for our virtual runners out there today.
Okay, so to get in touch with Stonewall Sports New Orleans, the best way to do it is through our Facebook group, which anybody can join, and we post regular updates, like the routes that we run on Mondays with the running group, stuff like when sports will be starting up. So that's all very important. Also, New Orleans is not the only Stonewall city, so there are a number of cities out there. So look on Facebook, find your Stonewall city, and I guarantee you they will welcome you with open arms. As far as the podcast goes, it's called Ambush Radio. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, just about anywhere that you find a podcast. And then, of course, you can also listen on our website, ambushmag.com, and just look for the podcast section. As far as tips for our runners, make sure you hydrate, especially if you're going to be running it in New Orleans or Miami. And, have fun with it. I think getting a group together, a small group, socially distanced, of course, is a great way to make running a little more fun. It can always be just kind of boring running by yourself, but get a small group and it'll help out a lot.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, George, and good luck with all that you guys are doing over there in New Orleans. We'll be talking to you guys in a couple of weeks. We cannot wait for it. It's one of my favorite cities. And in the meantime, enjoy our neck of the woods, most beautiful beaches in the world. Sorry, South Beach. I'm very sorry, Miami. I've got to say, the north part of Florida, we are a little bit better in the beach side.
Definitely not as crowded. So it's very relaxing over here, where I think Miami is, you go over to those beaches to have a party.
It is. Well, thank you once again, George, for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for joining us on a Saturday morning.
Of course, Josh. Can't wait to see you guys when you're in New Orleans.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And now we are going to be going back to Dixie. So look, we've been all over the place, and actually we've just been on one little stretch of I-10 between.
Sweet and poop, that one. What an angel sent straight from baby Jesus above. Just love him too much.
I know, he's fantastic. And I mean, look at all the stuff he's doing. I mean, podcasts, running kickball leagues. I mean, he's all over the place.
And that's what's important. I think a lot of people, especially during this time, have sort of cocooned themselves, and I get it. But how everybody always says, someday when I have the time to ... this is the time to do it. You got the time. So give yourself the opportunity to do something amazing and something that's going to make the world a little bit better. And that's what he's doing right now, which I just absolutely love. And I also, I think a lot of people, even something like doing a 5K, a lot of people underestimate what they're capable of doing. And I love something like this because it's an opportunity to do something that's going to challenge yourself, but it's not so hard that you're going to get overwhelmed by it. So that's what I think these virtual 5Ks are so fantastic. So everybody that's in the sound of our voices, this is the opportunity to go and jump on something like this and have some fun. And especially because this is a challenge for going on 4 weeks. If you want to, you can do each one of the 4 weeks and build yourself up and then get all those medals together. That's the best part of it. You're going to have these pretty medals to show up, and everybody's going to be like, what did you do? And you're like, well, I ran to the bar, but on the way, I made sure that the bar was 5K away. So that's the way to do it. See, because that way you have a double banger. You get all this great t-shirts, you get all this fantastic medal, and you get to go to the bar and drink. It's the most important thing.
That's it. That's absolutely it. And it's a lot easier than it sounds to do a 5K. 3.1 miles is not that hard. It really isn't, especially you can walk it. If you're somebody who's stuck on the couch all day, get outside, go for that walk, go for that run. It's a lot more refreshing than you would think.
And then all your neighbors are going to look at you and be like, oh my Lord, look at that. Because normally all they do is come over and their cat poops on my lawn. But now they're getting out the trailer and running. And that's the very best thing. There's a lady that lives across the gully from me, Sheila Dunmuddy. And she's 92 years old. She's in a wheelchair, but she's got these 2 grandbabies they always visit. And those little ones run around like crazy. And it's like, it's exciting to watch them run. I wish they would run away further so that I didn't have to hear them all the time. But they're so well. One time they got stuck in a bouncy house that wasn't tethered down to the ground, and a storm came and blew it into somebody else's yard. So that was kind of fun. It's always an adventure when something like that happens. But in the meantime, it's nice to see even the kids running around like these days. Because otherwise you're going to be sad. You're going to be shut in. You're not going to know what to do with yourself. And then when the sun starts shining you and things open up, you're going to be like, I don't know how to do it. You got to give yourself an opportunity to get out and do a little bit something for yourself every single day, and a 5K is the perfect way to start.
It is, and what better place, again, weather permitting, what better place than Miami? I mean, Miami is absolutely gorgeous. Have you been to Miami? Have you spent a lot of time in Miami, Dixie?
I have been to Miami. I mean, it's beautiful. First of all, so many great things come from Miami, like people that live there come from there. It's got more Cuban food than any other place in the entire place except Cuba, which has all the Cuban food. And it's also where we got things like the mullet. People don't understand. They don't remember. Everybody thinks the mullet came from Kentucky. Kentucky's really never given us anything. They just taken things, made them worse, and put them out for everybody to consume. But the mullet, I don't know if you remember, Don Johnson in Miami Vice made the mullet a thing. Not only did he have a mullet, but he also rocked pastels. Now, that is a hard thing for any man to do, but he did it in spades. Remember, he would push the sleeves of his blazer up like that, get in that boat and ride in, and he was like, hey, and then he married, the lady. I saw her play with. Yeah. And then, and then everybody wins. And you're like, oh, my God, I want to go to Miami and get on a boat and run drugs and see if he'll come up and jump on my boat and try to arrest me, because that's super fun. You know, when like Don Johnson is on top of you, pushing you down, and he's like, you're going away for 5 to 10. You're like, okay. He did that to me one time at a party. And so it wasn't him. It was somebody dressed up as him and had the mullet and everything. And he's like, I'm Don Johnson. I just played along. And I was like, okay. And so he's like, I'm going to take you for 5 to 10. So we went into the bathroom and we did something for 10 minutes. And I was like, that was exactly what I thought it would be like if Don Johnson was arresting me for, drug trafficking in Miami. But there's some, you know what? I remember in the 80s when the model every gorgeous model on the damn planet was in Miami. It was everything that was beautiful in this whole country was all coming out of Miami. All the pictures you saw, all the fashion magazines, all the big makeup looks and all the hair looks, everything was all coming from Miami. That was the place to be. And it's still this beautiful place. And if you go down there, one of the things that's so specific about it, which I love, Miami has this incredible Art Deco architecture that goes through the entire city. Look, I totally had sex with somebody in that right there twice in the same day, which just doesn't always happen. So and look at this beautiful skyline. They have this incredible skyline. They have 2 trees in the city now, which is good. But they have this skyline of look how happy they all look walking away from you. But a cock, I mean, come on, who doesn't want to drive by a cock looking so nice and pretty? And see, this is the boat I had in my mind when my friend who was dressed as Don Johnson was on top of me, giving me 5 to 10. But there is this amazing Art Deco feel through the entire city. So you have these incredibly gorgeous modern buildings, and then interspersed with that is this incredible Art Deco architecture that has woven through the entire city. And it's very, very specific and unique. It's like the only place in the world you'll find that has such a great Art Deco kind of history with it. It's beautiful down there. And, and there's Miami, and then there's Miami Beach, and a lot of people don't understand. So Miami Beach is like this little extra little thing that goes off the side of Miami. So you know how Florida is like the penis, okay? And then at the tip, there's the reservoir. And so that is the part, like, so Miami Beach is just right over there like that. So there's like 2 beaches that you get. And it's so gorgeous down there. You know, you can go. I remember Versace had his big mansion down there back in the day, right on South Beach, which is a very popular place, and you can get food down there now. You can still go. I mean, it's the mansion is still there. They don't Versace is not in the Versace family anymore, but that is still there, so you can walk down and see it. And it's so interesting because it's smack dab in the middle of all this commercial stuff. So normally you would not have like a residence inside where all this commercial stuff on the with properties, but it is so kind of interesting and jarring that this giant mansion is right there in the middle, like for everybody to just walk up to. So, you know, it's really beautiful. And remember that movie, The Birdcage, with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane was shot there. It was so funny. And I mean, and so, yeah, you go down there and you see a lot of history, a lot of stuff that you remember from film and TV. And you go, oh, I didn't even know it was down there. And then you see it and you go, oh, yeah, I know it's down here. So it's a beautiful place. And there's a thing called Lincoln Road, which is a very, very long road. It's all street traffic. It's all foot traffic. So it's right in the middle of Miami Beach City, and that you go down. It's blocks and blocks and blocks long of shops and stores and restaurants and stuff. Beautiful stuff, gorgeous food, and everybody's just walking around having a good time. Now, of course, right now because of COVID, it's been it's a little bit more empty than it normally is, but it's a real landmark down there. You walk through and you can just go out and have a beautiful night, going to all the different stuff that's down there. So there's a really great culture in that whole Miami area, and it's just so nice. So if you're not in Miami, someday you got to go, and if you are in Miami, get your butt out there and run between the raindrops right now and see what you can finish the 5K.
That exactly. Now I do have a question. You were talking about how Florida mimics some anatomy. If that's the case, the reservoir down there in Miami, what does that make of folks like us up in Pensacola or Mobile?
Yeah, you know, in the Gulf Coast, we're sort of like, how do you say this nicely? Where we were, where the balls would be, if the balls are like in the ocean. The Gulf is kind of like the balls, filled with fluid, you know, and real windy and turbulent a lot. And you're more where you are is sort of more under that. I don't know what they call it. That little place that goes from the balls to the penis, like that, you know, up there, like.
Yeah, okay.
The jackhammer or the unicorn. I don't know what that is. But yeah, that's where y'all. Now I'm a little bit more so I'm where you are, I'm east of you. And so I'm sort of where the body connects to everything, where the legs is, you know, but not where the legs go down, but right under there before they go down. You know when you're on something before you go down, and then you're like, well, let's close our eyes and take a plunge and hope it smells good. So it's sort of like that. That's sort of how things are. But the Gulf Coast is amazing. But of course, as everybody knows right now, it's the storm season. So the storm season gets real turbulent, and we get a lot of storms up here in the Gulf. Right now, it's so interesting. It's they either happen on the East Coast side or they happen on the Gulf Coast side. So one of the others, things get blowed in and they blow out. So if we're in scary times, then everybody on Florida on the East Coast is like, oh, thank God, we don't have to deal with it. And if vice versa, we're like, oh, a storm is coming and going to hit everybody over there in Florida. Well, bless them. I'm going to be at the bar watching the TV news and making sure they're okay. So yeah, no, it's a turbulent little area down here mostly because the water is so warm, and when the water is so warm, that's what turns up when all the high pressure system go to. I don't know all the terminology, but I was dating a meteorologist for a minute. Well, dating. What do you call it when you meet somebody in the back of a truck? So, I was, so he told me all these things. He's like, my high pressure is going to come down and get your low front. And I'm like, I don't know, but okay, let's go. So it was really fun. I got a lot of hay stuck in my hair because it was the back of a truck, and they had been transporting farm animals earlier today. It was a petting zoo was in the back of it, but there was the only place you could get behind and not be detected because there was like a parade of Girl Scouts going by, and you don't want to, they're going to just run and try to sell you cookies, and so you're like, no, get out. So that's we just jumped in the back of the truck, so it's what happens. But yeah, he taught me all about meteorology, and then told me that my low pressure was in his high front. I'm like, okay.
I love it. I absolutely love it. If you didn't know, this morning's broadcast is educational. We're covering travel, we're covering weather conditions. We are all over the map. So
All
please
for it, because people need learning these days. I don't think people understand, but they need learning these days. And because so many parents like myself, because I got 3 kids, because so many parents like myself have to, we've got to make sure that we're taking care of the kids and learning them stuff. That for me, it's like, oh, I've become such a good teacher lately because I can teach my kids how to do stuff like leave, because mama's got the door closed, so don't knock on the door when the dog's in there, and things like that. It's about, because normally what we would do in like September, we'd be like, put our kids on the bus and be like, back to school, bye, see you in like 9 months or whatever. Apparently they would come home every night, but I didn't know that. I just like lock the door and I'd hear the knocking. I'd be like, sorry, we're closed for the day. But then, in March, they're like, no, they canceled school. I'm like, I'm sure they would have sent a note home if that was true. And then they're like, no, call the principals. And so I had to call the principals, and he's like, yeah, we don't have no schools or nothing. You got to learn them yourself. I'm like, oh my Lord, that's going to take forever, because then it's going to upset my drinking time. It's going to upset my mechanical bull riding time. It's going to upset all this stuff that I was going to be doing normally without the kids, but now I got to incorporate the kids. And then you got to get them crafts. And let me tell you something, that 5-piece puzzle isn't as engaging as they say it is on the box, because the kids do that faster than they really allow us how they do them. So yeah, I had to get all these things. And now that we got a whole nother, like at least 6 months of the kids are going to be home from school on account of the fact that our school districts aren't going back in. That means I got to get more puzzles and things, a birdhouse for them to be able to build. I don't know what a birdhouse looks like. I'm trying to get things that are interesting that I don't have to learn them how to do, so I can be like, build that and then walk away. I wish they'd build me a deck on the back of the trailer, but they're not that sophisticated yet. So it's just, you got to learn them when you can. So that's what's going on these days.
You have to start off with the birdhouse so that they learn how to use power tools by themselves.
I know, right? I know. And then there's like, this one is one that you can put together from a kit that I got them, and then you paint on it. And I was like, oh, paint something nice that will make the birds come in, like, nude birds or something. So that way they'll be like, all the male birds will be like, yeah, dollar drink night or whatever. And they'll come in and bring the dollars and then, give it to the other birds. I don't know how that works in the bird world. I don't speak the language, but it's very important to be able to do things that are engaging for kids,
That's it. It's for the birds and for the kids. Now, here's a question I have for you. You are someone who is used to being out on the road. You have a tour. How are you coping with going from this whirlwind life you lead as Dixie Longate's Tupperware party to now in COVID? How are you coping with that? What are you doing to stay involved and stay active?
It's been really interesting because I have a show. Well, I've got a couple of shows on the road. I have a show that, I started selling Tupperware 19 years ago as part of the conditions of my parole. And then I was doing it in people's living rooms. Then a friend of mine said, oh, you should do something like take this and make it a program and put it on the stage. And I was like, shut up, stop talking. And then I did. Look how happy I look in that picture. That's probably when there were kids nearby screaming something like, hey, watch me. I don't want to care about them. See, now that picture is taken by a pool near Miami. Look how I did. I was excited and happy and looking so pretty. Can't help it. That's what happens. And so, yeah, so I started do the show, and then the show, we took it to New York, and it got a lot of attention. It ended up running off Broadway, and I called it Dixie's Tupperware Party because it's what it is. It's like a Tupperware party on stage with games and prizes and raffles, and get the audience up to participate with me. But then it's got a really great message about empowerment and going out and doing something amazing with your life and giving yourself credit for where you deserve. And then I was on the road with that, and we thought we'd be on the road for like a year or two. Well, it turns out we would. If it wasn't for COVID shutting the show down, we were at 12 years already with the show. That's how long I've been on tour with the show. And then I worked with a big theater in Denver called the Denver Center for the Performing Arts. And then I created a second show called Never Wear a Tube Top While Riding Medical Bull, and 16 other things I learned while I was drinking last Thursday. So that started there. And then it's also been running around. So I'm doing the 2 shows in tandem. And then everything got shut down, like I said. And I thought, oh, well, I want to keep in contact with all my friends and make sure that I can get people saying hi and everything. So I've taken to being on Facebook Live and doing little YouTube videos and stuff. And Facebook Live, I've done a ton of these happy hours. So I've gotten on for the last like 6 months, and I'm doing happy hours a couple of days a week. And sometimes I will make cocktails, and sometimes I'll just share stories. We'll talk about different things that are going on. I'll share what I'm doing with the kids. I'll share what I'm doing, what's going on in my trailer park and everything. And then, the big thing I said, okay, I don't want to just sit here and not do nothing except just drinking and talking. So I'm developing stuff that I'm actually about to launch this big thing, a brand new show actually called Dixie's Happy Hour. And so it is a show that I've written, and we're going to film it virtually. We're gonna film it, and then we're going to stream it virtually, but we're going to stream it not through my platform, but we're going to stream it through art centers. So art centers all around the country are going to be able to take the show and stream it to their ticket buyers, because all the art centers are shut down right now. So there's no new content. There are no shows coming in. All of the Hamiltons and Wicked's and Lion King, it's all shut down. And so I was talking to a bunch of the art centers that I have already worked with in the past, and I said, hey, I have an idea. What if I bring a show to you and to your audiences, but do it virtually like that? And people have been doing stuff like online, but this way it'll be able to reach a greater number of people all at the same time. And it's a brand new show, and it's really funny. So that's going to be launching next month. So I'm in all the final putting everything together for it right now. But the show it's called Dixie's Happy Hour, and it's about me. It's like I'm going to be leading a happy hour and sitting there going around and talking about making different drinks, like the 4 food groups: tequila, rum, vodka, and gin, and some cocktails and how they, work in your otherwise busy schedule. And then as I'm going on, I start telling different stories about things that are going on in my life and my backstory and where I come from. And then it ends up being a really sweet message about not just the happy hour from 5 to 7, but it's about finding the happiness in the hours that are right in front of you. And when everything is kind of going haywire in the world, it's about looking to find those little gems of greatness that you might otherwise sometimes miss when everything's going too big. So that's what I'm doing. That's rolling out next. So I figured this is the time to have some fun and go out there and do something different and make people smile. And thankfully, technology and stuff like this gives us the opportunity to do that. But also, I love watching everybody come to the table and like seeing what other people are doing, like people putting together these virtual 5Ks and people putting together all the great stuff they're doing with social media. And because I know social media can be like a real poison pill for a lot of people, but there's all this great stuff that people are creating and doing and growing at the same time, which makes me really happy.
It sounds like you're staying absolutely busy. I cannot wait to see the happy hour, this virtual happy hour. Where will people be able to find this?
Well, if you go on so I'm going to start launching all the information about it in about 2 weeks. So if you go to my Facebook page, you can find me on just my name, Dixie Longate. You can find me there. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me, on all the social stuff. And I'll start launching all the information about it. And when that's available, I'll like direct you to different art centers. I'll have a list of the art centers that are going to carry it, and then you can click on the links to your local art center. And the nice thing is, it's actually not just it's going to be supporting the art centers. So the art centers are the ones that are going to be taking in the money. So because every art center is shut down right now, this gives the art center a way to make a little bit of money and keep their doors open, because things are so tough and so many people have had to be let go from the art centers because there's obviously no work there. So this is my little way of giving back to the theater community that's been so gracious to me over all this time. So this will be an opportunity to go like, hey, go to your local art center that's carrying it. Here's a list of it. Click and buy the tickets there. And then you can get your friends involved. They can see the show. But the nice thing about the show is you can be able to watch it there yourself from your own home. So like, let's say you got to go to the bathroom. Well, normally if you're in the theater and you got to go to the bathroom, you're screwed. You're going to miss part of the show. But in this case, you just take your computer with you and you go into the crapper and you're like, I'm not missing a thing. See, I'm thinking of everything for people because, I don't want nobody to have no issues.
That's how this works. We're on Skype, so if I had to go to the bathroom, I would just be taking the computer with me.
Exactly.
I won't do that. I'm sorry.
And you don't got to wear pants when you're home. Like normally, if you go out in public, you got to wear pants or a skirt or boots or whatever, or hiking paraphernalia. Now you don't, and so this gives the opportunity to be like, I'm only going to put on half a blouse and nothing, maybe some lipstick. I don't know what shade lipstick you wear, but you can pick any shade you want. That's the most
not yet. I haven't found my shade yet. I have not found my shade yet, and I'm not wearing pants. So for the record, we're good.
I figured because I saw your dog for a while, and now I don't see your dog. And usually, if you're not wearing pants, your dog's down on the ground nearby, going, "This is gonna be fun." Like that. Dogs are so cute. A dog can lick its own crotch for most of the afternoon and not get bored. It's astounding.
That's amazing. I got bored after 3 minutes.
I know, I get it. And I'm not that bendy to be able to do that anymore. When I was younger, I could lift my leg up all the way. And I got a friend who's a stripper, and sometimes we sit together at church, and she lifts it without even trying. And so I'm like, put that down. Jesus is watching. You know how she do. She's always like, oh, I'm just practicing for later on because I got a shift at 11:30. You know how she do. So what are you going to do?
Shift. So I'll put you on the spot. Let's ask happy hour. If we're thinking Miami, if we're thinking maybe a little hurricane party, what is a cocktail that we could have after your 5K today?
You know what? You said hurricane, and hurricane is, that's a great one for the Gulf Coast because we're so used to that. And I think it was, I don't know the origins of it, but I think the hurricane was actually something that was invented in the New Orleans one. So I know New Orleans is going to come up in 2 weeks with their run. So I don't want to steal her thunder, but I would say, you know what? Because Miami is just a classy place. So I would do something great with a little bit of vodka. Just something, maybe a couple of fruit juices in it, stick a popsicle in it to keep yourself refreshed. You can, when people do those Bloody Marys these days, and they stick everything but a VW bug in them because it's like a whole meal on top of the fact that you have a drink. And I say, oh my Lord, I didn't come here for lunch, came here for a cocktail. You can do that, but you can make it more fruity. You don't got to put too much stuff in it. But I think if you have vodka and a popsicle and a gummy bear and a couple of lifesavers and mix it all up, put a Jolly Rancher on top, you're ready to go. I think that's a nice refreshing way, and it's clean. The thing about if you have something like a hurricane, it's a big slushy drink and it's got a lot of puree in it, and that's just too much. If you just done a race, you want something that's a little smoother going down, that's not going to clog up your throat and everything. So something nice like that. Maybe if you're sophisticated, and you have your own pair of shorts, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna have gin today, and gin is nice. Gin is different than vodka because they look the same, but they have very different effects. Vodka obviously is has a taste of Russians, and then gin is basically the distillation of the juniper berry. So it just depends on how they're like, oh, this tastes like a tree, and it's not true because I have been face down in the woods many times, and I've had trees that have fallen in my mouth, and I've never been like, gin. So I'm not sure that I agree that it tastes like that, but it is a delicious thing that you can put some stuff in it. I love a good Tom Collins. Apparently that's a drink too, but I know I've got him Tom Collins, and he is super good on I have a mini trampoline at the foot of my bed for emergencies, and he's so good on that. He can do tricks that I didn't realize he could do, and he does tricks with a low ceiling in my trailer, which is great. He's never once scraped the paint off the ceiling, which is really nice when you're like in a pinch and you don't want to look like somebody's been in your bedroom doing something. And so there's all kinds of things. But if I was going to have an after race drink, I would do something with a little vodka in it and just a bunch of little paraphernalia. Or who doesn't like something bubbly? I mean, if you're going to celebrate, it's really nice to like pop the top off of like an inexpensive bottle of champagne or bubbles or rosé and put it in your mouth and be like you don't have to get the super crazy French stuff because it's $195 a bottle. You can if your pockets is that deep, but if not, you just be like, you know what? I'm gonna put this in my mouth right now and it's gonna be nice. You'd be like, that's so great. I did a race one time and Barefoot Wines was one of the sponsors, and they had just come out with some bubbly. And they gave everybody a little version of it. And I was like, oh, my God, that's the best thing ever. This is totally worth running the race. And then you drink that, and then you fall down. It's perfect. He doesn't like
That's it.
And there's always some kind person that's run near you, and then they're like, hey, you want, can I pick you up? And they put their hand down like this. And first reaction when somebody extends their hand like that when you're on the ground is to put their thumb in your mouth and start sucking on it. But then they're like, no, that I'm helping you up. And you're like, oh, I didn't. Okay, I was doing the same thing that I usually do with the Reverend, but okay, that's fine. Thank you for helping me up. Aren't you kind? And then they help you up, and then it's super sweet. There's still chivalry is not dead. So.
It is not. And shout out to Keith. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Again. Oh, I was going to say,
what's
not dead? What is dead? My neighbor across the street has like 15 cats. She was on Hoarders 3 times, made a record. Very excited about that. But we play this game. It's so sweet. I'm trying to do a math game with my kids. It's like, how many dead cats can you find in a hoarder's house? So what we do is we make a little nice little meal, like little meatballs or something, a little pasta for her, and we'll go and we'll put it on her doorstep for social distancing. Obviously, we ding dong the bell, and we're like, hey. When she opens the door, she opens it a crack at first, and we're like, hey, it's just your neighbor from across the street. I just wanted to make you some dinner because I know you might be hungry. I'm trying to be, a good Christian. And then she's like, oh, and she opens the door, and we place the dinner about 5 feet from her. That means she's got to leave the door open when she goes outside and to get the food. And the nice thing is when the door's open that wide, it gives my son the amount of time to be able to count how many dead cats he can see right in the doorway. It is such a fun game. Eight is the number, actually, if you're curious. That's how many dead cats you can count in the doorway of a horror when you're giving them some food. So it's just things like that. I mean, you got to keep yourself busy and entertained during this trying time. But what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, well, first of all, I was going to ask how many cats, so you answered that for me. But Keith Carey, watching along with us on Facebook, says the mojito, the classic mojito, could be a perfect Miami drink.
Absolutely. Now, the mojito, okay, the thing about a mojito, which is he's very, very right, but a mojito, you need to muddle things in the mojito. And a lot of people, I had a muddler and then I lost it. And you know what I ended up doing by accident is I used a vibrator because it's the same thing, but if you turn the batteries on, it has to be waterproof, obviously. It actually does have to work for you, so it saves your shoulder for other things later on in the night. So it's very important to make sure that you have a working muddler before you make one, because otherwise you got to put your hands in there. And if you're using the right kind of glass, it's too thin to get your whole knuckle in there to be able to muddle with your fingertips. So I'm just giving you the heads up because I don't want you to get all the ingredients out and not be able to smush up the mince and muddle it correctly. But a mojito is a perfect drink. It's a perfect drink anytime. Like if I was going to go to church and they were like, hey, we ran out of communion wine, like, because I helped, test it. That's the Reverend always calls me up. He's like, we got in the new shipment. And I'm like, let me make sure it's okay. I'll be right down. And then I come down and I help them test it. Usually comes in a box, but people are like, oh, you shouldn't drink that. I'm like, don't be jealous because my hobby has handles. Because a box of wine is great because you can carry it with a handle anywhere you go. If I was in church and they're like, oh, no, we ran out of wine, I'd be like, oh, okay, a mojito will be a nice replacement. Wouldn't that be nice if you went into church and you was on your knees in front of the altar and they're like, we're going to do the communions, and then they poured little bits of mojito. I'd be like, I'm just going to take this and sip it gingerly. Like, I wouldn't even down the whole thing at the same time. I'd be like, to just savor it, because then they're going to give you that wafer and it doesn't have kind of any flavor. And it's hard when you mix that with wine, because then it just sticks to the top of your roof of your mouth. But if you did it with mojito, it would the whole thing would bask in a certain kind of glory of the Lord. So I think he's right.
And you end up with fresh breath.
Amen. Isn't it the worst thing in the world when you're having too much of communion wine and then your breath gets all stanky? But if you are really singing to Jesus and you've got like a mojito in your mouth, it's like mint and love all at the same. You can breathe on your dog, and even your dog would be like, oh, that's interesting. Because when you breathe on a dog and you have really bad breath, you know it, because that dog don't have no sensor button, and then they do that, and then they sniff their own butt. And I'm like, how is my breath worse smelling than your butt? I don't understand that. But dogs are so sweet when they do that. But this way, everybody's breath smells minty and fresh. You're like, oh my God, it's like you brush your teeth but with a cocktail. Come on.
What's better than that? So real quick, I do want to check back in and tell everybody that you can still register for the race. If you're watching this, that's the beauty of the virtual race. It's 1:00 in the afternoon in Miami, but you can do this tonight. You can do this tomorrow. You can do this race anytime you want, but you can still go on and register. If you're watching this right now, the link, the biggay5k.com, it's right there on the Facebook page. You can go there. You can register. Again, $45. You get the medal, the T-shirt. We are working on. Oh, it is. It's fantastic. It's got the Miami skyline. It's got the palm trees. The medal kind of matches. We are working on making. Oh, look at that! It's fabulous.
I love that. And as you said before, and if you have just joining us a little late, you said before, if you look at it, see how it has the kind of the arch behind it, like a rainbow? If you do the bundle, which I know you're about to talk about, the bundle, you can get all four of them and put them together, and then it becomes a whole rainbow thing. Look at that. Oh, my Lord. It couldn't be prettier if it tried.
There you go. And I know that there is, again, there's a tech issue behind the bundle. They are working on that. If you're interested in that, send an email to info@biggay5k.com, info@thebiggay5k.com, and they'll get you squared away with the 4-race series. Speaking of, our next race is going to be New York City next week, and then we'll end up in New Orleans. But New York, we've got the lovely Sherry Vine going to be joining us next week.
It
sounds like you had something to say.
She is sweeter than poop on a stick. I have known her for a couple of years now, and she could not be lovelier if she tried. She's one of those people that if you were down on your knees and you need your last quarter, she will go put her leg up on the side of a mailbox so that somebody throws a quarter at her just to get her to put her leg down, and then she will hand you that quarter. I mean, she is such a glorious human being, and I adore her. And I know I've been in New York many times, obviously because of shows and what I do and everything, but every time I'm there, she's not, which is nice. So I just call her. I'm like, oh, wish she were here, but you're not. But she is going to be hosting next week, and she knows that city like the back of her hand and the front of her hand and part of her leg, and so that is going to be amazing. She's going to have so many stories to tell you about, corners she's been on and bars she's gone into and senators that she's dated. Whatever, I don't know how you use the term anymore, but yeah, she's amazing. So you're going to love her.
Lobbying is the term with a senator.
Sure.
Lobbying. I have to remember that for the next time somebody drives over to my trailer and they're like, I'm just here for the convention. I put streamers on the outdoor of my trailer, and then all of a sudden people think it's a party. Most of the time it is. It's hard though when you're having a key party, and then you invite a bunch of people over. You got to get an even number, obviously, and then all of a sudden somebody puts it on Facebook, and like 6 people of one sex come over, and you're like, oh God, Becky, why did you invite your mom and your aunt and everybody? And then I got to call and scramble at the last minute to get the people. Like I got to get 6 more guys to match it up, because otherwise it's going to be very uncomfortable. And then I'm the host of it, so I always have to be the one to wait to the end. I'm like, everybody else pick your key first, and then the last one's always like the reverend or whatever, and then I have to go it's weird because he insists on keeping his collar on, which is so strange, where there's this cross on the wall and he's there and he's like, yeah. Anyway, but what were you going to say? Yes, about the big K5K next week in New York City, and then what comes after that, Josh?
Then after that, New Orleans, again, right down the road from us, right down I-10. It's going to be an absolute fun race. Again, Miami, you have just broken the mold for us, Dixie. This has been amazing. You've had us in stitches all day. Yes, Katie, I was close to tears in how much fun I'm having today. So this is absolutely.
Make me want to rub up on your leg like a dog searching for peanut butter. That is so neighborly. Listen, you're an angel sent from baby Jesus above, and I know I can think of nothing better that I would rather be doing on a Saturday morning while it's raining and I'm stuck inside because I can't be outside because it's raining than sitting on here with you. I mean, I could think of like 3 things better. One of them has to do with the football team, and they're not practicing because school's not in session. So I'm going to go up that list and put you right there on the top. You are just an angel.
So we have about 90 seconds left, Dixie.
What?
Yeah, I know. Yes, this is the sad part of the show. But I'm going to give you an opportunity real quick to, again, tell people how to get in touch with you, your shows, what you're doing. Kind of tell us, again, how to get in touch with you.
Well, you were so sweet. Yeah, you can get in touch with me on any of my social medias. I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook is where I have a lot of my phones, and I do post a lot of videos and stuff on there. So I post different stuff. I do my happy hours a couple days a week on my Facebook Live, and then I post fun little things on my Instagram, little stories, little 1 minute little Instagram videos and stuff about stuff that's going on in the world. And then I'm going to start talking about the new show, Dixie's Happy Hour, that is going to be coming out virtually. I'm going to start talking about it in about 2 weeks, so you'll start seeing a lot of chatter on the Facebook. So if you come to my Facebook page, for example, and you sign up and you go, alert me when she's drunk or whatever. You're getting alerts all the time. But that way, yeah, you can keep a hold of what I'm doing. And then hopefully when all of this is over, when the theaters start opening up and COVID, parts ways with us, I'll be back on the road. I'll be doing things to keep everybody entertained. But in the meantime, all of my information about where I'm going to be, and I'm always updating it, will always be there. So you can go to my Facebook page. You can just go to my website, which is just my name, DixieLongate.com. That will have everything update you all the time to where I'm going to be. And you can also follow my social through that and everything, but that way you can get on them when I'm doing what I'm having, because there's always I'm always coming up with something. I got to keep myself busy on account of the fact that otherwise my kids are gonna be like, Mama, pay attention to me, or make me a dinner. Well, I mean, they ask for things all the time, and it's just so hard because you go into like the baby's room and you're like, the baby's crying, and I'm only in there to find the chloroform or whatever. So it's really hard. Like I went into the other day, and let's just tell you a story. This shows you what a good parent I am. I went in there the other day because the baby was crying, I think, and then when I went in there, I was like, oh, there's noise. So I picked the baby up, but I went in there the other day and I found like 7 bottles around the crib. And that shows you that I'm a good parent, because you know why? Because what I did is I went in there with probably a drink in my hand and I put it down in order to pick up the baby to make it stop crying. So that shows you the care, and the love that's in my heart. I actually had to put the drinks down. So then it was like going into the bar because there's all this alcohol in there. And I was like, oh my God, how did that get in there? And so and then I spent the time. I kind of forgot about the baby for a while, but I did spend the time making myself a cup of cocktails in the baby's room. And that was so nice and refreshing and everything.
It is a little me time, And actually, I know we're going over for just a minute, and I hope our broadcast partners are okay with this. I actually saw on your Facebook real quick, and I meant to ask you about this. You just performed in a gravel lot? I mean, did you just have a?
I did.
You just have a
The
show?
first time I've been doing anything since the middle of March, and I had in Provincetown, Massachusetts. They have normally there's all this entertainment there in the summer, and they haven't been doing it this summer because everything's closed down. So there are 2 venues that actually accessed. One accessed a little bit of a room by the pool to put some shows up, and then another one I called the Pilgrim House is where I was. They put a little platform stage in their gravel driveway, and so they're like, "Come on up and do some shows." So I did a couple of shows up there out in their outdoor amphitheater, I called it, under the stars, and did some shows there to make some people smile. But of course, it was all socially distant, and everybody was far away from each other. So it was a unique opportunity. But everybody was laughing and giggling and having a good time, and that was the most important thing. So, yeah.
Well, we've had an absolute blast this morning, Dixie. You have been the best guest. You've been, again, you've had me just absolutely almost rolling on the floor. All of our folks on Facebook, they have been having a great time. And by the way, folks on Facebook, I see a lot of comments and stuff like that, but I only see 2 shares. Come on, hit the share button. Get that out there. Tell your friends, tag your friends, throw some pictures up of where you've been running. Tag us in those pictures, and that way you can spread the word about this awesome, the Big Gay 5K. It's our first year doing it, our second race, and we just want to make this. We want this to be a thing, Dixie. If we did a different city out of these 4, what city would you pick for us to do a virtual 5K?
Well, obviously, I'm very partial to Alabama because I like it. It's my hometown, but Mobile. But you know what? There's so many great places that I've been to on the road. I've been to, oh my God, I've been to Pittsburgh, and I've been to Denver, and I've been to Fort Worth, and I've been to Dallas, and I've been to Los Angeles, and I've been to San Diego, and I've been to San Francisco. I've been to Des Moines, Iowa. Who knew corn country was so sweet? Everybody's so neighborly up there. There are places all over the country that I've been, and you can find Charlotte, North Carolina, gorgeous little city. So there's places all over that you can be like, you know what, Atlanta. You can find different places. DC, in the nation's capital. There's all kinds of different places that you can go to. You could do a whole series. You could have the rainbow be so big with all these different things that you connect together. Do like 25 different cities. Oh my Lord, could you imagine?
And that would be like a metaphor. Again, a huge rainbow of everybody coming together. I know we've got to be separated. We've got to do things healthy, but we can still come together. We can do healthy things like 5Ks. We can join each other on Facebook, on social media, on these awesome chats. And we can go for a run, raise some money for a great charity, and feel good about it. What's better than that?
Absolutely.
Well,
honey, you are sweeter than poop. I just adore you. I appreciate you spending some time with me and letting me be on here today. This has been so fun. And when the rain clears off, I'm going to do my run ahead of time for next week because I'm going to be joining you with Miss Sherry in New York. I'm going to be doing the race, so you'll see me poking around and posting pictures and everything. But I'm going to keep it up because this is good for all of us.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. So again, a huge thank you to you, Dixie Longate. Please join us next week. We will be in New York. Sherry Vine will be joining us. It's going to be awesome. TheBigGay5K.com or right here on Facebook. Again, there's the schedule, 9/19 for New York City, New Orleans, 9/26. That's 2 weeks from now. So you'll be depressed about your Saints losing. I know New Orleans. So then you'll have to run a 5K to get over it. So again, thank you so much, Dixie. Thank you guys on Facebook. Again, Keith, Katie, all of those folks that are shouting us out on Facebook. We appreciate that, and we cannot wait to see you guys next week.
Thank you for having me. Have yourself a great week, all right? Keep out of the rain.
You too, Dixie. Thank you so much.
Bye, sweet angel.